probably all agree that results like this are much better than results like that. But what if I told you that both of these are stats from two different listings that I released on the very same day at the very same time with the very same design? You might be wondering, how is it that I could have such drastic differences in these two results? This is the power of A/B testing, or split testing. And it is one of the ways that I have really been able to grow my shop. Using these results, I've been able to recreate this success time and time again, pushing out more and more listings that are successful. This leads to momentum being gained in your shop, and it leads to consistent daily sales. A/B testing, also known as split testing, is a method of comparing two versions of something to determine which one performs better. It is really just a simple science experiment. In the context of Etsy listings, A/B testing involves creating two variations of the same listing and testing them to see which one generates more views, more favorites, and ultimately more sales. We are going to talk about some different types of A/B tests you can run in your shops. I'm going to show you examples from my own shop of some A/B tests that I've run. And we are going to talk about how I use those results to help me make future decisions, which is exactly how I have built momentum in my shop and gotten myself to the point of having lots of nice daily sales every day. I will tell you exactly which types of A/B tests I run in my shop that have had the biggest impact, the ones that I run on a regular basis now, and there are 3, so we'll go over all 3 of those. Now, before I jump into the 3 that I like to run in my shop and show you some examples of the results and how I make those future decisions based on those results, I'm going to go over the steps of A/B testing. Now, before we move on, if you are there thinking, I'm not ready to hear this and this sounds overwhelming and I'm about to click away from this video, don't do it. You will be sorry if you do that. A lot of times information seems overwhelming to us at first, but if we just expose ourselves to it little by little, it becomes more and more manageable. I'm going to break this down super simple to hear, and if you are not quite ready to implement it in your own shop, then you'll know later, oh yeah, I listened to that video, let me go revisit that after you have some more listings up and you've played around with some of the other tips and tricks that you're hearing. First, we'll jump into the steps, then we'll jump into the examples in my shop and how I use them. So step number 1, and there are 7 steps. Step number 1, identify the element or variable that you want to test. So for example, we could create one listing with this mock-up photo, and then an additional listing with a different mock-up photo in the front. Maybe a mock-up photo with someone wearing the shirt. We could also test our SEO. That is our search engine optimization phrases. So your title and your tags. I do have a video on how to do some solid SEO research. So you would do that solid SEO research. I'll go ahead and link that down in the description. And then you'd come up with 2 chunks. And you would send out your listings, one of them with the first chunk that you researched and collected, and then an alternate listing with that second chunk, the title and the tags different that you researched. Now, just to keep it clear, I'm going over different elements from the listing that you can test, but you would only choose one of them. So we've gone over 2 different things you can test. You could test the main mock-up photo, or you can test your title and your tags. You would not run a test changing both of these things, because then you're not going to be able to make any decisions with those results, because you won't know which of those things are what are creating the change, what are getting more views, or what is creating more favorites or ultimately sales. So we're going to go over a couple of more elements you could change, and you would only choose one of them to run your test with at a time. We can test pricing. And there's actually a whole bunch of tests we could do, as there's a bunch of pricing strategies. If you want to educate yourself on pricing strategies, I do have a video on that, and I'll link it down in the description. But just to mention too, real quick, we could test a break-even strategy where we run a test with items that are at pricing that just breaks even to our cost versus items in the alternate listing that are regular pricing where we have our profit worked in. Or we could test a loss leader strategy. You can also run a test on whether or not a sale is working in your favor in your shop. I have run this test, and I did find that daily sales increased my sales volume. I also have a video on that. I will link it down below in case you'd rather listen to my results rather than running the test yourself. But that was pretty impactful. Just to recap, some of the variables, the things that you could change, that element that you could change or test would be your main mock-up photo, or your SEO, your title and your tags, those search engine optimization phrases, or pricing strategies. You could also test the color of the shirt. You could test a loss leader strategy. You could test a sale. There are others, but these are some of the big ones that I think have the bigger impact. Once you have identified the element that you're interested in running an A/B test on, you are going to create 2 versions of your listings. Each of the versions will be identical, except you will make one change and only one change. So for example, if you want to test SEO, you would duplicate your listing. I'll show you how I do that in just a moment. You'll duplicate your listing and replace the SEO with your alternate chunk that you're going to be testing. After I create my listing, I go into my listing page in Etsy, and I go to this little wheel here, that little crank wheel, and I go down to copy. Now I have just copied that listing, and I can go in and make changes to the copy. So in this example, we're changing the SEO, and I will have a duplicate of my listing that is exactly like the first one with just that SEO changed. Just a quick little note here. This is how I do it, and it is just very fast for me to do it this way, but it does mean that it's not synced with my print-on-demand company. If you like to sync with Printful or sync with Printify so that when someone first orders from your listing, that it's all synced up and it's all automated from the very first sale, that is not going to happen with the way that I just showed you. But most of our listings never do sell. So I like to duplicate on the Etsy side. That does create an empty listing that's not synced with my print-on-demand company. My print-on-demand company, if that item sells, I will not be able to have it pushed out from my print-on-demand company automatically. I'll have to go in and attach the print file and sync it up then. This works great for me because, as I said, most of our things don't ever sell, and I'm able to get a lot of items pushed out much faster, which means a lot more things will catch for me sooner than if I was doing it the other way, all that time consuming, syncing it up and then pushing it through to Etsy. I'd rather do it the other way. Works for me. But I did just want to make sure that you understood that that very first sale, when you do it this way, it will not be automated. You'll have to go in and sync it then, and then thereafter, it will be automated. It'll be synced and ready to sell. Each time it sells after that, it can be automated. Also, this is one of the reasons I do like to use Printful, because I do find it easier to sync as I go or to sync after I make a sale with Printful. I do have a link to them down in the description if you want to check them out, or you could just Google them. I also have a video where I compare my thoughts about Printful and Printify. I'll link that down below as well in case you have not chosen your print-on-demand company yet and you're trying to make up your mind. Step number 3, launch the listings simultaneously. So the same day, right around the same time. So this way you know that you're comparing the 2 listings under the same conditions. You want to compare their performance knowing that they're both under the same conditions. It wouldn't make sense to maybe list one today and then duplicate it 2 weeks from now, list it again, and then compare their stats, because it's likely that if one was listed 2 weeks ago, that one's had a chance to already get views and to already have some performance based on the time. So the time is one of the things that you don't want to change. You want everything to remain the same, including the time. Step number 4, track the results. Make sure that little toggle switch I'm always talking about on your listings page is toggled on. I'll show you a quick picture here so that you know exactly where to go. This is going to open up the analytics that you need in order to really see what's going on with your listings that you're setting out. You'll be able to see how many favorites they're getting, how many visits they're getting, hopefully how many sales, that one of them is leading to sales. So simply pay attention to these. I don't write anything down. I just pop in and I compare the listings from time to time. If you're more organized than me and you make yourself a spreadsheet, go for it. But I haven't overcomplicated this. I just go in and I pay attention to them. Step number 5, get into the fun stuff. After you start collecting this information and you're looking at which listings are doing better, you're going to start making changes moving forward in your listings. If a particular mock-up photo keeps doing better in your A/B tests, use that mock-up photo more often in the beginning. If a certain SEO chunk is getting more visits than another one, well, now we're going to start using that SEO chunk. So you're going to use these results to make future decisions. And step number 7 is simply to repeat. Repeat A/B testing often. You will learn so much from it, and it will help your shop get momentum in certain places that maybe it wouldn't have had momentum before, because one of the variations in that A/B test helped you gain some visits, gain some favorites, and then you doubled down on that, which just means you do more of it. And we'll talk about the examples of how to double down in just a second, because we're going to jump into that next. Quick recap. When you A/B test, first, you identify the element you want to test. Second, you create 2 versions of your listings. 3, you launch these listings simultaneously. 4, you track the results. Then you're going to analyze the results, and you're going to make changes to your future listings, incorporating those things that you see are working. And you're going to repeat this process often so you can learn lots and lots of things. I am most excited for this part of the video because I really want to share with you 3 types of tests that I've run in my shop with some drastic results, because I believe in this. This is something that has helped propel my shop so forward. Real quick before we do, if you are finding value from this video, if you wouldn't mind smashing the like button. I'm simply Shawna. If it's your first time here, we're glad you're still with us. We hope you'll become a subscriber so you can see lots more content like this. And let's hop into it. One type of A/B test you can run is that front mock-up. And the way I've often done that is one model mock-up versus a beautiful flat lay mock-up. And I've run this test numerous times in my shop, hundreds of times. So let's take a look at some examples of what the mock-ups might look like, and then we'll take a look at some of the results that I've had in my shop. Here's an example of 2 mock-ups I might A/B test. I would put out a bunch of listings with the live model mock-up there on the left as my first mock-up photo, and then a bunch of listings with that flat lay mock-up on the right as my very first mock-up photo. And I would simply duplicate or copy my listing. I would have both of these photos in my listing. I would just drag in one of my variations the live model to the front, and then in the duplicate, the flat lay to the front. I did reach out to the owner of this shop, Foxy Mock Studio, and I just let her know that I was going to be using her mock-up photo in this video, and she offered us a special discount code, so I'll put that down in the description in case you're wondering where I got this one. I got this one from Stop Mock and Roll, and if you are subscribed over at Cassiy Johnson's channel, you'll know that that is her mock-up shop. Here are some stats from my shop. This is the same design. Everything about this listing is the same except that first mock-up photo. And on the left, I used a flat lay, 0 visits in the last 30 days, 0 sales. This was a holiday item. So the one on the right has 2 visits in the last 30 days, and it has 112 sales because during the holidays it got cranked up and it was selling for me. That was $3,561, which means something like $800 to $900 profit, right around there probably. It just so happens with that particular listing that it was the flat lay that was not doing so well and the live model mock-up that was. I've had very different results with that. Sometimes the live model mock-up is the one that's doing better, and sometimes it's the flat lay. I am now trying to be more mindful of analyzing that and figuring out why. Perhaps it's the niche that I'm using it in. So I'll be thinking about that. But either way, I'm really pleased that I've done this so many times because it has helped me catch in certain niches where had I only listed it the one time with the one mock-up photo, I wouldn't have gained any traction. And this is where I started with A/B testing. The very first things I ever tested were SEO blocks, my titles and my tags. And I could even say it's ABC testing because when I first started doing this, I was launching 3 listings out and testing 3 different blocks on the same design. I'm about to show you 3 of those listings, and they were Christmas items. And I do believe this was like a turning point in my shop. When I came through I opened the shop in 2020. It was about 1 year later. It took 7, 8 months for me to start making money. But at the 12-month mark, 13-month, 14-months, I was making what I considered a lot of money. And part of that is because of this A/B test that I did with the SEO blocks. So at Christmas time, I was launching those 3 listings. You're going to see how different these results are here in just a second. I made about half of the profit I made during the month of like November, December was this one listing. It was the second Christmas, but it was the first Christmas I made any money. The first Christmas, I sold like 1 Christmas item. So I sold a lot of Christmas items that following year. However, most of my sales were this one listing that I listed 3 times. 2 of them didn't do much. The one just went nuts. So you'll see that very first one did absolutely nothing. These were all launched the same day, same designs, and 0 sales. That second one there has 2 visits in the last 30 days because I did sell it. When you sell something during the Christmas season, a lot of times it'll get visited throughout the year. If nothing sold, most of those listings have 0 visits for me. So since this one did sell, it sold 14 times. And so it's had 2 visits here in the month of April. And now look at that third one. It's had 50 visits in the month of April, even though it's a Christmas item. And it sold 1,133 times. It sold in 2021, and then it sold a bunch of more times this past December in 2022. And you'll see I have $32,836 revenue there. So that first Christmas I launched this out, it was about $6,000 profit I made. I made about $12,000 profit during the whole period of time. Half of it came from this. And this helped the momentum in my shop because it's not just that it's exciting that this one listing sold. You understand, this is going to help propel my shop if I do the right things and double down where I should be and I keep listing. It's going to help my momentum in my shop, helping me gain future sales in other places. Now, if you've been watching my channel, you know that I share all my numbers with you. I do monthly reports where I show you exactly what I'm making, what is revenue, what is profit. And I shared my Q4 results with you. It was some of the very first channels I posted on this channel. If you haven't seen them and you want to go look at that. So this is 2021. These listings I'm just now showing you. How did I use that information to help me moving forward? Well, coming into this past Christmas, I used the SEO blocks from that third listing. I I used it a whole bunch. I used it on hundreds of listings. I started listing in July, just kept listing through all the way till Christmas time. And I had lots of things catch. Now I'm ranking with those bits of SEO terms. Etsy knows that, oh, this shop, when they use this SEO block, people were purchasing. So now we're going to put more of these items out, giving me more of a chance to catch other, to have other listings catch. So doubling down in this case meant following Christmas, I blew my store up with that chunk of SEO that did so well. Last but not least, break-even pricing versus regular pricing. In that pricing video I mentioned earlier, I put it out to everybody whether or not they wanted me to run an A/B test in my shop with break-even pricing versus regular pricing. Break-even pricing meaning listing items just at their cost, and another listing going out that is, where the prices are hiked up so that I earn a profit. And if you're thinking, well, why on earth would you do break-even pricing? You're not going to make any money. That is only for a short time. You do that until you get some sales, and then you push it up to regular pricing, because this is going to help your listing rank in the algorithm, getting it pushed out to more people. So then once it's getting pushed out to more people, that's when you start raising the prices. So I'm doing just that. I've got 60 something items right now in this test. I am going to make a video, so keep your eyes peeled for it. If you haven't subscribed or you don't want to miss that, don't forget to subscribe or ring the notifications bell so you don't miss that. I've got about 60 listings in there now. I want about 100, and I want to make sure that it's running after I list that 100th thing for at least 30 days so we could get some good data on it. I'm very much enjoying the results right now, though. And I already have some ideas of how I'm going to use those results moving forward after. So let's take a look at one of the listings. This is the listing that has the most dramatic results so far in this test. Here we are on the left. We have an item that was launched at break-even pricing. It is now at regular pricing. I think I have to send it up like maybe $1 more. I've just been lazy to do it. But it just took off. This was listed, less than 3 weeks ago. And don't think that this is typical. This is not typical results in my shop. Things I list 3 weeks later are not usually doing this. But look how interesting this is. In the last 30 days, this item has had 1,362 visits, 72 favorites, and 139 sales. That is $3,581 revenue at this point. This item is selling every day a couple times in my shop right now. On the right, this item is still doing really well. It's got 928 visits. It was really interesting as I kept looking at this side by side as the numbers were growing. And now that one on the second side, the one that was at regular pricing, is doing a little bit, it's catching up a little bit. It's got 59 sales, $1,742 revenue. But the one on the left caught first, and now it's selling at pretty much regular pricing. If this topic does interest you and you're intrigued and you'd be interested in my making this a series where we really go into maybe one video about what it would look like if you're doing an A/B test with SEO, another video on what it might look like if you're doing an A/B test with the pricing, and so on and so forth, and make a little mini series with that. If I get at least 20 comments down below, then I'll go ahead and consider making that a series. Remember, A/B testing should be done over and over again. You shouldn't just do it once, test one item with 2 different sets of SEO and call it a day. It's meant to be done numerous times. So I encourage you to play around with this. Actually, watch this video next and we'll continue chatting right after this tip from Tucker. Tucker, take it away.